This is a quick tutorial on how to sync up audio to video in Premiere Pro. So at the moment, I've just got a track soloed. It helps to have tracks soloed, especially if you've got a lot of tracks. So let's just have a listen where I've got this placed at the moment. So it's the sound of somebody coughing, and I'm just going to move the playhead in Premiere Pro with the mouse. You can also move the playhead by using the arrow keys, and this moves the playhead by one frame at a time. And you'll notice that as I move the playhead, you can actually hear the audio at the same speed that I'm moving the playhead. If that feature isn't set up, then you can check this by going into the Preferences menu under Premiere Pro, and then under Audio, you've got an option here for Play Audio while scrubbing, so make sure that is ticked for that to work. You can also visually see where the audio starts. If I zoom in a little bit more, and I'm also going to make this audio track bigger by holding down the Alt key and using my mouse scroll wheel to make it slightly bigger. So we can see that's where the audio starts. And there's a bit of movement by the character on screen. So we'd probably want the coughing to start as the movement starts. So round about there. So I'll leave the playhead where it is. And now we need the beginning of this waveform here to match up to the playhead. So I'm just going to, with the, obviously with the audio clip selected, like it is now, I am just going to hold down the Command key and use the arrow keys left and right to nudge this audio clip one frame at a time until it matches up. That's pretty much spot on. So let's play that back and see if that's in sync now. So that's a lot better for the start of the sound matching up the on-screen movement. But I'm not entirely happy with the way that this coughing matches the rest of the movement. So if you look here, there's two coughs, really, one long one and then a shorter one. And it doesn't really match the movement on screen. We're looking for two short coughs, really. I'm going to actually chop these two coughs up. So these weren't actually recorded to match the video. These were just from a sound effects library. So you have to manipulate it a little bit in order for it to fit properly. So what I'm going to do is going to find where the second cough starts, which is the shorter cough. And I'm going to cut the clip there, or split the clip. There's a couple of ways you can do that. If we use the razor blade tool or the razor tool, you can just simply click where you want the audio to split. So there's also a shortcut which is appearing on screen right now, and that does the same thing. So I'm now going to move back to my selection tool, make sure that that part of the clip is now selected, and just hit delete to clear that. So all we're left with now is the second shorter cough. Obviously that doesn't match up any of the movements now, so I'm going to have to do that again. Find where the first movement is. There we go. And again, I'm using the Command and the left arrow key this time to nudge back the start of that clip. So that's where the first cough is now. But we need a second one. First of all, to make the second cough, I'm just going to duplicate this audio clip. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, click and drag, and that just creates me a duplicate of that clip. Now I'm going to move that into position so that the second cough matches on screen. So again, let's find where the movement is. About there for the second one. And again, Command and left arrow key is going to nudge my selected clip into position. Now let's have a listen to that. So to me, that looks a lot more realistic now. If you want to go even further into this, you could actually put an effect on one of the clips to try and disguise the fact that it is actually the same clip. The easiest way I can think to do that is to make one of the coughs a different pitch. So either higher in pitch or lower in pitch. And it will just give the impression that they are two different audio clips rather than the same one duplicated. So I'm going to select the clip that I want to affect. And then I am going to go to the effects control panel up here. So that will just look at whatever effects are on that particular clip. There's nothing on it right now. But if I go to my effects panel here, then I've got lots of choices of effects here. The one that the section you want to look at, or the folder you want to look at, is the audio effects folder. You can ignore any of the video effects or transitions. So we've got quite a lot of effects in here. If you don't want to search through them, you can actually type the word that you're looking for. So in this case, pitch shift, and then it will narrow down the search. But this particular effect is the pitch shifter, and it is within the time and pitch folder. So you can just click and drag that onto the timeline where the clip is, or into the effect control panel, whichever you want to do. And then that appears over here as a pitch shifter. If I click on edit, I've got the controls for the pitch shifter. And I'm just going to, well, let's see what it's like first of all pitched up. Let's move the semitones up, not too far. Let's go around about there, about 4 semitones, see what that sounds like. Not incredibly realistic. Let's go a little bit less high pitch. It kind of works, but let's see what it's like lower pitch. And just a little less obvious, so a little closer to the original pitch. Yeah, I mean, it's almost there, isn't it? It's not a huge difference. I think that's more realistic. And it sounds like, you know, a natural cough rather than being pitch shifted down. We don't want the effect to be too obvious. So we'll go with that. We can close that window now and go back to our audio track mixer. And so that's all nicely matched up now. The only thing that you might want to do is also add a crossfade in. You can find the crossfade effect in here. So let's just search for it. Crossfade. Just put cross in. And it's actually a transition. So it's under audio transitions. And you've got constant gain and constant power. I would go for the default one, which is constant power. And just click and drag that. Now, as we drop it on the join between the two clips, it's going to put in a default length of the transition, which is probably a bit long for our purposes. So we can trim that down. And if we zoom in a bit more, it's only a very minimal amount that we want to crossfade. It's a very quick crossfade. That's just to make sure really, that there aren't any pops and clicks that are unwanted. So let's just play that back with the crossfade in. So fine. You might not even need that crossfade if you don't hear any audio artifacts, but it's always a safer option is to crossfade. And let's see. I mean, we could even fade in the beginning of this audio clip here because again we don't want any pops or clicks. So this time you would want a fade in. Now there's a couple of ways you could do that. Again, you could put a crossfade in, and when you put a crossfade at the beginning of a clip, it actually acts like a fade in. So again, it is too long, and you do need to trim that back a bit, and that should work. That's fine. The other way, if you didn't want to use if you decided you didn't want to use the crossfade option, so let's just remove that. You could just use keyframes. So in this instance, let's drag out that piece of audio just to give us enough room to actually automate the volume. So if I click Command and click on the automation line there, and then click again for the second automation point. Just zoom in a bit so you can see what's happening. Then I can take down the first automation point, drag it down to 0, and now we've got a fade in. So several options there for you to try out when you're moving audio around and editing audio and getting audio in sync. So hopefully you found that useful.